Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for that introduction. So, as you can see, the topic of today's TED Talk is why modern dating is broken. Okay, thank you. Okay. In the 19th century, a man, in order to win over a woman, had to talk with her parents, present his future intentions with her, determine his position, his assets, thank you, income, and additionally have an impeccable appearance and good manners. A long list, isn't it? Nowadays, a man, in order to seduce a woman, likes her story on Instagram, sends her a heart-like emoji, or maybe, only maybe, at 2 a.m. poses her a three-letter question. WYD, which means, what you doing? At 2 a.m. Yeah. However, this is not in any way a man-hating presentation. Like in every aspect, there are always two sides of the conflict, and here, women are at fault too. Their standards are much more higher, they're much more demanding, and also the amount of their past romantic relationships is increased, which sadly, according to statistics, leads to a drop in future marriage or relationship satisfaction. That fact is also applicable to men. There is no denying that the way of charming a woman or a man has changed dramatically over the years. On the one hand, romanticism, creativity, imaginativeness has been increasingly lacking. On the other hand, in order to seduce a woman, it is not very uncommon to seduce her by only one conversation. Seduction is no longer an art practiced by young lovers. That, and also other aspects, have to be assessed by today's society. Because if we won't do anything, if we won't find a solution, our society in the next 50 years is doomed to fall back into the dark age. We have to remember that implications of modern dating are not only targeted towards one specific and narrow group of people. And also, frankly, no group of people there is to blame. Saying groups of people, I mean attractive women, attractive men, feminists, insults, the rich, etc. Everyone is trying to survive in the system, but no one is actually winning. To maybe more formally address this issue, show you some numbers, because you might just wonder, is it really that bad, or is she just exaggerating everything? Is it just the reality that we have to adapt ourselves to? Or why is it a global issue if I have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Well, I hate to break it to you, but it is really that bad. And it is the issue that our society is facing the consequences of it on a daily basis. Okay, so let me provide you with some statistical data. For the first time in history, the majority of people at 30 are unmarried and childless. For the first time in history, the majority of 20-year-olds are single. 65% of single women and 45% of single men are no longer trying to find love, are hopeless, they've given up. And lastly, half of the marriages end up in divorce. The reason why those numbers are so detrimental for us is that all of those statistics are connected to the decreasing fertility rate. Such numbers, such dramatic drop in fertility rate, birth rate, leads to shrinking of populations around all of the world. That means that there will be an increase in the share of retired people in the population. which will put more pressure on the younger generation to be able to provide for them. That will eventually introduce many disparities, many distortions in the economy, and eventually it will bring chaos. Okay, so now that I hope I have your full attention and you know the seriousness of this issue, let me tackle some reasons for that catastrophe. Internet. Some of us might think that's completely obvious. However, for the majority of the population, that is a complete and absolute surprise, because why would the internet be an obstacle if the only thing it does is gather all people in one place, help in faster communication, or even help in finding a significant other? Well, if only that would be this easy. 50 years ago, a man, in order to satisfy his desires, had no other choice than to approach a woman. Nowadays, we have an array of substitute options, such as sexual online content, webcams, or even sites where one could buy and pay for a fake relationship. It's absurd, but when you look at how large these industries are, you start to change your mind. Also, a fact worth mentioning that is highly connected with the modern dating and the general addiction to phone, social media, and, well, internet in general, is that because of that fact, places, public spaces, such as theaters, bars, sites of cultural events are no longer attended to, well, at least not as highly. So the possibility of finding new people, of getting to know new people and finding actually, eventually, a potential partner are vastly limited. People are smart, people found a way to overcome that solution through, well, internet and finding people, getting to know people from the comfort of their own home, of their own phone, of their own hand. That brings us to the topic of dating apps, where one supposedly is to find a love interest. Okay, so let me stop for a second and ask you a question. Have you ever tried using a dating app? You know, Tinder, Badoo, Bumble, don't be shy. Okay, great. So, let me ask you a question. No, keep it up. Let me ask you a question. Have you succeeded in finding a significant other? No. No. Yes, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you for your clarity, by the way. Dating apps, of course, there are exceptions, but in general, they are machines for sexual satisfaction and broken hearts. People using dating apps have this hypothetical set of options where they just go, well, I could be with this many people, I could have this much of a variety, and I could find someone better. People's prosperity to settle is definitely reduced, and that makes them more likely to keep searching, to keep looking, to keep going out there, and eventually to keep searching for this elusive thing that sites like, well, for example, Instagram are presenting us, where there is an unnatural degree of beauty presented through unnatural angles, poses, filters, and ability to edit yourself. So we are now looking for this standard of attraction that isn't even in real life, that isn't even real. Dating, like many areas of life, has now become the slot machines in Vegas, where we're just looking for that next hit, that next hit, that next hit that doesn't bring us happiness, but it keeps us distracted. Okay, so talking about distractions and short relationships and quick physical pleasure, let me mention the topic of hookup culture and pose a question. Is anyone really gaining from it? Okay, for those who doesn't know, bless you by the way, who doesn't know what hookup culture is. So to clarify, basically hookup culture is the culture that encourages you to have casual sexual intercourse without any feelings interfered with it, any emotions, any commitment. But why isn't that what we should want? Why isn't that what we should opt for after so many years of oppression, limiting us, I'm talking about women, limiting us from having as many sexual partners as we want? In sexual autonomy, everyone should be able to do whatever they want, with whoever they want and whenever they want. And that is the most liberating sexual concept there ever was. Okay, but we've heard the premise, we've heard the promise. But what's the problem with it? Okay, so let's return to the root and to the starting point in history where it all began. It began in the 60s, where there was a sexual revolution in birth control. And the idea of a one-night stand, a hookup, became more approachable. Because, look, there's not as many consequences. It's not as much of a big deal as it was before, where every intercourse had a possibility of having a child. Thus, being on birth control removed sex from conditions of intimacy, child-rearing, and it just made intercourse being an emotional lust and physical pleasure, which isn't necessarily bad, actually isn't bad at all. But people in today's society are definitely abusing this privilege, which leads us to misery. Okay, it's understandable that physical pleasure is, gives us satisfaction, and it makes us feel good. But what people fail to realize is that because of that fact is actually caused because of the emotional stimulation that makes us feel good, feel desired, feel wanted and valued. So there's no such thing as no feelings. There's always is something which, after it's done, leaves us with emptiness and, well, nothing. It got kind of depressing, but putting aside all of those depressing factors connected with modern dating, we have to realize that maybe as a group it won't be as easy, but as individuals, we can do something about it. Each of you have to realize that your life is dependent on what you do today, on who you meet today, and that is going to have to do with how proactive you get, how ruthless are you in making choices, and how many risks you're willing to take. How ruthless also are you with cutting contact with people who are addicted to novelty and who have no interest in finding a deeper connection. And that is going to change your dating life. Thank you.